Welcome to the On Purpose podcast, where together we will learn from personal stories and explore thought provoking topics, all with one goal in mind: living a more purposeful life. Welcome, On Purpose community, to episode 160 of the On Purpose podcast. As always, we're blessed to be here with you, and we're excited to share more purposeful stories to help you lead your best life. And today I am excited to bring in a guest that's been on my radar for a while. We'd actually connected a time back, and as she said before show, the universe just didn't work for us to connect, and now we're here, and it's going to be even more powerful for you. And I'm excited to introduce a former police officer who suffered a career-ending injury, battled depression for 6 months, and has emerged on the backside as one of the favorite videos I get on Instagram, when I get to watch her coaching other police women specifically. And I think the message she shares actually prevails to many of us in all aspects of life. So today I'm excited to bring on Autumn Clifford, or if you're watching her Instagram or TikToks, you would know her as Officer Autumn. How are you today, my friend?
Thanks, Jerrod. Thanks for the introduction. Hey, everybody, On Purpose people. I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to chat.
Oh, chat you will, my friend. I love it. So when did you decide to go hard on your reels and your TikToks? Because it's been awesome. Like, I've been seeing those constantly here, probably I'd say the last month, maybe, for me.
Yeah. So, real quick, let me just give everybody a quick, like, you did good with the bio. It was great. I really appreciate that. I'm still a police officer. I'm just part-time now.
Okay.
So
nice.
I probably wrote it wrong.
That's all good. That's all good. You're a police officer, honor guard, the DT instructor. I love defensive tactics.
Yeah. Well, I'm a second-degree black belt, so I had to get in there and I had to whoop some of the guys' ass just to let them know what was up. So.
I don't doubt you would too, my friend. You don't seem like you're gonna take a backseat to nobody. But now here, Autumn, before you get going on a big, purposeful, heavy lifting, I gotta warm you up, just like class. We're not gonna jump in and start sparring right away. So you ready?
That's okay.
You ready for your On Purpose podcast warm up?
Yes. Give me the warm up.
Here we go. You're on an island. You're stranded on an island for the rest of your life. You get one food. What are you eating?
Ooh, one food. What am I eating? Oh man, probably. Can it be okay? Let me ask you this: Can it be like a prepared food, like a certain kind of prepared food?
Whatever is your food, my friend. I'm just facilitating the question.
Okay, so it's definitely chicken wings.
Oh, chicken wings. What sauce you taking with you?
Ooh. I really like a honey barbecue.
Oh yeah, good. A little honey barbecue and chicken. That's good. That'll work. We've had a wide variety of answers on that recently, and chicken wings I would definitely be down with on the island with you. Right now, second question, Autumn. You get a superpower, any kind of superpower you want. What would it be, and why would you want it?
I've always wanted to fly. I've always wanted to be able to fly.
Yeah.
And I just honestly, my whole life's purpose is really about being free, like freedom and feeling the ultimate freedom. And so I just feel like if I could just move around and go wherever I want, when I want, like go out my front door and just fly wherever, that'd be so amazing.
Very cool. All right. What book are you currently reading, and do you have a favorite book?
Oh, I love so many books. I'm a really big Audible girl. And so let's see. What book am I currently reading? A few. Have you, let me see if I got the title. Are you into Gary Vaynerchuk at all? Do you
I
follow
know Gary
him?
V. Yeah.
Okay. So he just put out a book and I have it, and it's called 12 and a half. So have you read that?
I have not. How is it?
It's good. It's really good. It's about teaching like interpersonal skills and stuff. But so I'm reading that, and I'm going to tell you about a book that I have not put down, and I highly suggest for anybody to get, and it's called Rich as Fuck. And it has completely changed the way that I look at money.
How so?
And it's because it's so unconventional. It's really about, she says that like money essentially is like a vibration, kind of like an energy. And like she really brings you on this deep dive. It's a lot of inner work, a lot of mindset work throughout this book. And she just teaches you about how when you look at things a certain way, you're going to get this certain result. But if you look at it a different way, you're going to get a different result. And she just, it's honestly, I think I've read the book 100 times. I make all my clients read it. I highly recommend it. It's by Amanda Francis. She's
Okay.
definitely a little girly, like, so it's very feminine. So, any of my alpha guys like listening, they might be like, but if you just look, like read the
They can
content,
listen to it and get a little softness in their life. It ain't gonna kill
that's right. I'd say the
them.
content's really good.
Very cool. I have to look into that. I didn't realize Gary Vee put out a new book.
Yeah, 12 and a half. It was really good too. Yeah.
Good.
His Audible. I love his Audible, listening to him
Just his
talk,
voice and stuff. Yeah, yeah. All right, final warm-up question, Officer Autumn. You get to have dinner with one person, either from past or current. Who is it and what would you ask them?
Oh, damn.
I like to stump a little. I like to stump the life coach here. That's a good one.
Yeah, that one's deep, man. Because like I could go so many different ways with it. You know what I'm saying? I could go
Yeah.
so many ways with
All right.
this.
You got one meal of chicken wings left. Who are you gonna share the wings with, and what are you asking
Who,
them?
who am I hanging out with? I'll tell you the truth. The first name that came to my head, and I'm just gonna go with that, is I'm a huge fan of Tony Robbins. And
Okay.
and I'll tell you why is it's not so much about like I know he's amassed a ton of wealth and he's done all these things, but like I really like how that guy like reaches people on a level and in a depth that I think very few people can. And he has helped like millions, like he's helped so many people change their lives. And I don't know, I guess I'm on this like pursuit to change as many lives as possible. And if I could just talk with him about like how he can just reach people so deeply and transform them in like minutes, that'd be my conversation I want to have with him.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, that's good. How you feeling? You warmed up now? Feeling good? You ready for your main heavy part of the workout here?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's go.
All right, talk to me, Autumn, about in prepping for this. I'm reading through your bio and did some research, and as I said, I love the videos. I think you're doing a fantastic job for our ladies in law enforcement and covering some really amazing topics that a lot of times I think people know are there, but nobody talks about, or if they do, they talk about it, secretly, so it doesn't become that. So not all people can actually benefit from it, if that makes sense. It's kind of like in locker rooms, but not actually out in public. So share with me like your journey in law enforcement. So you got into law enforcement at 20 years old, and then at 26, you're faced with a turn of events. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so I've been an officer, as you said, since I've been 20, turned 21 in a police car. I was, it's your typical want to work all the time, be there all the time kind of girl. I met my husband in the police academy, so we're police academy sweethearts. And so you can imagine, I'm just trying to lay the groundwork to show you that like the job was all that I wanted. I have a master's in criminal justice. You know what I'm saying? Like that was it. Like I was going in the administration, right? Like that was my goal. And when I was 26 years old, all of a sudden, well, it wasn't all of the sudden, for about a year and a half leading up to this moment that changed my life. And I just want to say this, I really believe that what changes our lives are moments. And that's probably, it's a pretty close quote to Tony Robbins. He talks about that in a lot of his seminars and trainings, but it's moments do you know what I'm saying, Jerrod? It's like small moments
for sure
that are the ones that like lead up to really change our lives in big ways. And what happened was my legs started going numb. Both legs started going really numb every time I put my duty belt on. I'm like, this isn't right. But I just shut the fuck up because I'm like, all right, like maybe this is normal. And then about a year into it, I'm standing in briefing one day and I'm like with my guy, like all like my shift partners and my sergeants there. And I'm like, hey, does anybody else's like thighs feel numb? Like when I punch my thigh, like I don't feel it. And everybody started laughing at me and they're like, you're fucking crazy, Clifford. Like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, what? Like, really? Nobody else feels this? And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay. And then sitting in my car for even just my shift would be like an 8-hour shift. My back was excruciating. Okay. Like so bad. My back was killing me all the time. I couldn't work out. And so finally I'm like, all right, on the DL, because any cop knows
Yeah.
this, like we're not going to go and we're not going to say we're hurt because we're really not trying to go down a workers' comp
No.
situation.
Yeah, for sure.
So on the DL, I go to my chiropractor and he's like, this is Autumn, you're in really bad shape. And I'm like, no, I'm fucking not. Like I've been working, I've been doing all these things, I'm fine. And he's like, no, you're not in good shape. Let me take an x-ray. Takes an x-ray and I have a really bad bulge disc. And he says, you are not to go on the road. I'm calling your chief. I'm like, you're not calling my chief. Write me a note. Do you think I gave it to my chief? No. So the next day or whatever, I go back, see the chiropractor, and he finds out obviously that I'm still on the road. Calls my chief, tells him, she's out, like she can't work right now.
Wow.
One thing led to another, and within like a day or two, I was done. They were like, my doctor's like, listen, like I go get an MRI and stuff, and I have a herniated and a torn and degenerative disc all in my lowest back. And people get like herniated discs and stuff like that. And people get the degenerative, even though it's very bad, people get it. But the problem is the tear. The tear in my disc was almost all the way through. And they didn't know what would happen if my disc tore. And being 26, I didn't want to have surgery. I'm like, I'm not going to have surgery because we don't even know like what's going to happen. And so basically from there, I got pulled and pulled from full-time duty. They wanted me to become a dispatcher. Well, any cop knows they do not want to become a motherfucking dispatcher. That is not why I got into this job.
Right.
And anyways, yeah, so that's what happened. I was couch ridden for 6 months. I was deeply depressed. I felt like
talk to me about that couch ridden. So you were on doctor's orders, like no workouts, no movement. Like what'd they tell you to do?
Well, I was going to PT like 5 days a week and I couldn't sit. Like that was the problem. I couldn't sit or stand for long periods because the tingling and the numbness was going down to my legs, or my lower back was hurting me. Sitting was excruciating for me because of all the pressure. So I had to lay down like a lot for 6 months. Like during PT, I was going through extensive therapy and it was excruciating. And it was during that time that I felt like I lost my purpose. I lost who I was.
What was your lowest point during that depression? Do you remember? Was there a specific moment where you're like, wait a second, I've got to figure something out?
Well, it was it wasn't actually me figuring anything out. It was my husband.
Sure.
He's like sitting at the end of the bed one day after like this had gone on for months. And like if you knew me, I have a lot of energy. I'm really a go-getter. I'm really not someone who's going to sit around. I have a ton of energy, right? Like, so he was like, you are even you, like, honey, like what is going on? And you're not who, and at the time I was his girlfriend. He's like, you are not the girlfriend that I know. Like, I know you're going through a lot of hard times, but like, I'm really worried about you. My family could see that I was slipping into like a really bad depression. Like I just didn't care. Right. Like I didn't give a damn. There was I had no purpose.
Yeah.
So, he sat at the end of my bed one day and he was just like, he was almost in tears and he's like fighting him back. And he's like, listen, I don't know what we got to do, but you got to do something. And then I called my mom, obviously. And I'm like crying, telling her what just happened. And she said, you've always loved Tony Robbins. I said, yeah. She's like, why don't you go put on one of his YouTubes?
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And then the truth is, Jerrod, is I didn't get out of bed, but I YouTubed him every day, all day for like 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yes. Progress though. At least you're doing something good for you while you're laying in bed.
Yes. Yeah. And he did. I really believe that he's the reason why I got out of bed. I mean, those videos and he made a movie called I'm Not Your Guru and all that shit just is what got me out of bed because I started feeling like, you know what? I'm not the only one. And in that right there of I'm not the only one that was life-saving. That changed everything. And that's why I started my company, my coaching business. I've been coaching for 8 years, and that's why. It's because I was like, fuck, I'm not the only one who's feeling like this.
Sure. Yeah. And what did so that first step, so you realize you're not the only one, you decide to get going. What was like the first steps you took to kind of put you on that path? Because you can't just go, from one day to the next being a coach. Like, what was that progress like for you that you're like, wait a second, okay, this is working for me. I want to share this with others.
Yeah. So um before I got injured, I'd say a year or two before, probably 2 years, I was a beach body coach. And do you know what that is?
Oh yeah, workout program.
Oh yeah. Yeah. But so I didn't really know much about anything because essentially I was like, I was an MLM and I was coaching, but like not the way that I'm coaching now. I was essentially just like helping people to, you know, helping them along in the buying process of
Yeah.
buying, the supplements and the working out and supporting them. But that right there, that really changed. I was a catalyst for it all because they were really big on personal development and they were really big on your mindset. And I was like, damn, like this is cool. And then, you get into Tony Robbins and stuff. But like, obviously when I got injured, I put all that down. I was like, oh man, like, but I can't do that. So I kind of had that in the background. So what I did is I kind of just mimicked that. I hired a coach, truthfully, because I was like, I'm not going to mess around. I'm not going to spend years trying to figure this out. I hired a coach and she was a business coach and she taught me a system on how to get my word out there and how to start a coaching business.
Oh, so smart. And I think that's where a lot of times people struggle is they want to do everything on their own and they don't ask
Yeah,
for help when they need it.
that's it.
Yeah, that's good. So then you get into coaching. And what were you specifically coaching at first when you decided to become, because you have life coach, but you were doing a ton of stuff. What were you coaching initially?
Well, so remember I was a beach body coach, okay? And so it was so funny. I was actually just having this conversation. I want you to, I want all the listeners to know I've done a bunch of shit, okay? I've coached in every aspect of my life that I thought I could help somebody with. But what's so ironic is I first started out teaching women how to get into law enforcement. That was like that was what I started out. But the truth is I didn't have a platform and when I hurt my back, like I didn't have time to like build up a platform and all these things. And like, I needed to do something that was going to bring income in. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was teaching like business and I was teaching, like some spirituality and mindset stuff. And like, so because the first one, teaching women how to get into law enforcement, wasn't like lucrative.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm
It's
like,
such a small area.
well, I was like, yeah, exactly. And I'm like, who the fuck needs to be, at the end of the day, it was like, who needs to be taught how to get into law enforcement? Like we all just kind of trial and error it. Right. So, but my heart was always there, and where I'm ended up today, 8 years later, my heart has always been there. It's just, I've done a lot of things in between.
Yeah. You took a roundabout way, but I think most of us end up that way, right? Like most of the time you have something you're passionate about or something that interests you, but you just don't know necessarily how to captivate it or how to capture it and turn it into what you want. So it does take a while and you come 360 degrees back. So I love when we're talking off air that you really niche down. Can you talk about that process?
And how I niche down. Okay. So I've done, like I've said, I've been coaching for 8 years. I started coaching about 5 years, 4 or 5 years ago. I started coaching just law enforcement. Okay. And the reason I went there is that's just my life.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, from being in business and doing this, this becoming an online, you want to call influencer, a coach, a business owner. And when you are like the face of the business, okay, it is all encompassing. And if you are faking anything, people are going to know. And it's not, I needed to do something that was very in line with who I was and I could do it easily. And I didn't have to like, I don't know, sit down and like try to create all this content and all that
Right.
bullshit. I'm not that kind of person. I'm not like a super like well thought out, organized kind of girl. I'm really like on the fly, just kind
Yeah.
of, just trusting my gut. Right. So I did that for a while and I was very successful. I helped a lot of men and women with resiliency. I've hosted three first responder retreats actually to help build with mindset and resiliency. And it was really fun and I made great connections and I've helped a lot of people. But the thing is I wasn't fulfilled. It was a piece of me that just was not fulfilled. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And I'm a big fan of meditation
Yeah.
and I'm a big fan of journaling. And so I just kept going like within. And I kept hearing like, you need to help women. You need to help women. And I'm like, what women? Like, I don't understand. And like the answer was like staring me right in the face, right? Like every time I looked in the mirror, it's like, well, you're a female cop. And why don't you help other female cops? And I was so scared for so long. I listened to like a lot of people tell me there's no money in that. Nobody needs your help. And like, listen, I'm not all about money. Like, I just want to be honest with everybody.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, this is
You got to
my
make some.
business.
Yeah.
That's right. Like, this is my livelihood. So, I have to be thinking about that too.
Sure.
So, um, anyways, and so I just listened to like all these outside voices for years tell me no, and it took me a while, and then in June, I hosted this big retreat. It was co-ed for first responders, and it was a blast. And you can go on my social media, you can look at all the photos and the videos. It was fun. We had so much fun, but I knew the next one was going to be all women, and it wasn't because of anything bad happened. It was just like, and this was, and like the group was amazing, but the I just knew the next one. I'm like, no, the next one's going to be all women. And so then I started just focusing and I started looking around and I'm like, there's nobody helping female cops. There's
Sure.
nobody. There's a lot of people helping cops.
Yeah.
There's nobody helping female cops. And I have a podcast, obviously, Jerrod, as you know, I start looking at podcasts that are focused on female cops. There's none.
Yeah.
There's none. And I'm like, what is going on? There is nobody for us. And so then I said, well, that's what I have to
That's
do.
you.
And that's what I got to do. And it's very, very fulfilling for me. And the fact, like, I literally am helping people by just being myself. And I can't even believe it. I'm like, wait a minute. This is helpful for you?
Yeah. How many times were you told you got to quit doing that? Or you're going to not be successful, or you got to do less of this. And now you're like, wait a second, I get to do all of me and I'm going to be successful.
That's it, man.
That's awesome. What is the keys that you want women in law enforcement to have, and what is it you're hoping in your message? What do you want them to take away from things?
I just think that there's no mentorship for women in law enforcement. Whether people want to agree or disagree with me, I'm not here. I really don't give a shit, but I'm going to just tell you the truth. The truth is it's different for a woman to be in law enforcement. It just is. And
absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. And we have some agencies that are making a lot of strides from trying to make that equal. Okay. They're trying really hard. We have some, very few agencies. Okay. But we have some. But by and large, nobody understands how to train women. Nobody understands how to even talk with us because they're so fucking afraid of, they go one to two extremes. They're like, I'm going to treat her exactly like one of the guys, which is perfect because that's what we want. Most of us want that. But then like, I've been in multiple situations where it's like, actually it goes from like ball busting to next thing we're in a sexual harassment. Like, why are you fucking talking to me that way? Like, right. And let me just give you an example, because sometimes when people hear that, they're like, oh, here we go. She's one of those. Right. But like, the thing is like, we can all be talking about anything, like, and that's what like a lot of people don't understand. Like, women in law enforcement, we know what we're getting into, right? For the most part. Like,
for sure. You didn't get tricked into the testing process. You didn't get tricked into the backgrounds, That's
it. Yeah. But where it becomes a problem is when the joke stops going from being general to being focused on us, like
Oh, for sure.
in continuously. Like,
Yeah.
oh, your fucking tits, huh, Clifford? Like, Jesus, your fucking tits. You got such big tits. Can you did it to that? Or, Jesus, you've been on more fucking, tricycles. Or how's that go? Like, what's that? Like, I don't know. Like,
I don't even
you're like
want
the
it.
neighborhood tricycle. Everybody gets a ride. Like,
Yeah.
that is a problem because
Yeah.
there's no respect there. And so I've been in multiple situations as a young officer and didn't know how to handle that. Now the older Autumn wouldn't put up with that for a second, but 20-year-old Autumn who's trying to figure this out and trying to fit in didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And what I realized is a lot of that was like the guys trying to relate to me and trying to make me make me feel like one of the guys, but they were like going too far. And it was just like, why are we not communicating about this? And my goal is to have women be squared away and have that proper mentorship on how they need to act, learn how they need to act, learn how to be, respected in the job, but also open up the conversation to communicate, like to the whole entire law enforcement as a culture. Like, hey, this is how we treat females. Okay. Like, do you see what I'm saying?
No, 100%. It's communication within the law enforcement industry is one of the more baffling subjects you can study,
isn't it?
because
Oh, man,
we communicate very effectively. I would say 99.9% of the officers around the country communicate extremely well in their community settings and awfully within the agency. Right. So why is that? And so let me ask you this. Why do we have such communication issues, do you think? What have you found?
I just like a lot of fear. I don't know. I just
Fear of
like,
what?
I really don't know. It just feels like a lot of fear of liability. When it comes to, don't want to say this thing, don't want to do this thing, don't want to offend anybody. This is like more recent. Okay. This isn't back when 10 years ago and like longer ago and still in some different departments. I mean, truthfully, people are like, well, you want to do the job, you get to put up with this shit. This is just how it is. This is just, we've been doing it like this forever. If you want to be a female cop, if you want to be a cop, then you got to put up with all this bullshit. And
I think even that goes back to what you said. That's fear.
100%.
Right. Like here's one of the things, like I teach this in my classes to law enforcement around the country, is we don't have real honest conversations with the men and women that are willing to die with you each and every shift.
So true, man.
Right. So like, so some of that hazing, I'd call that like hazing, like saying that stuff to you that you mentioned. A lot of times I would venture to say, and in my experience, the people saying that are using that to create a barrier, right? They're hiding their fear behind this machismo. Because reality is, women in law enforcement bring something that's drastically needed, which is empathy and compassion and more of a softness, and women are more willing to talk about feelings.
Yep.
Why are police officers killing themselves at a higher rate than bad guys ever take from us over the course of my whole career? Why is that statistic ring true? And I would say, Autumn, that a lot of times it's because the guys don't talk about shit that's bothering them.
Yeah.
We're so afraid of being viewed as weak or soft, or, oh, nothing bothers me. And, teaching young recruits, I always say, if nothing bothers you, if I ever hear you say nothing bothers you, you need to go get a good job, a different job.
Yep. 100%.
This job should bother you. And when it bothers you, it's okay. And you're going to talk about it to somebody. And I think that's what you're doing for women, is giving them that place to say, hey, wait a second, it's okay for me to talk about this.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, I offer definitely a support and like open conversation for sure, but a lot of guidance too on, how to act truly.
What's the one thing you're teaching now that you wish you would have known when you were a young rookie?
A lot. There's a lot that I learned the hard way. I think the big thing that is really, I don't know. I think one of the things that I harp on a lot, I just want women, and this goes, and like I just have to say this too, like I don't think that it's just women. I don't think women are just a mess or women are anything less than male cops. It's not that. Like I could sit here and fucking tell all male cops, get your shit together, because a lot of you are just as much soup sandwiches as females, right? So it's
For
like
sure.
I just kind of want to put that out there, because some people are like, well, this could go for males too. I'm like, no, totally. But that's just not who
Always.
I'm talking to,
Well,
you
honestly,
know?
here's the reality of what you're doing, Autumn. It goes for people that aren't in law enforcement,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Like they are
totally.
universal principles. When you get people to believe in themselves,
Yeah,
it applies
100%.
across the board.
Yep.
And that's the beautiful thing about this on purpose community. There are quite a few law enforcement that listen, but there's many more that aren't, and they will get the message loud and clear from you. So continue on, my friend.
Well, I think I mean, Jerrod, you hit right, you hit it, you said it, which was perfect and beautiful timing. Is it really is like, if there's anything that I could teach any woman or any person really, but the young Autumn who's 20 years old just starting out, if there's anything I could teach her, is actually like believe in yourself and you know what you bring to the table. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I, just preach on. It's like everyone's like, oh, like you think that this police department will hire me, and like there's and it's like, listen to me. Number one, who own who you are. And if you don't have a lot to bring to the table, like just go and add to that. It doesn't take long that you start adding some things to your toolbox, to your repertoire, whether it's an education, whether it's experience, whether you learn a skill. Like there's so much that you can bring to the table, and a lot of us have so much life experience, right? and
Yeah.
and you just own that, because yes, it's like you, and like, oh, I hope this police department hires me. It's like, listen, there's so many police departments hiring right now. They need good officers. They need so many good officers. Like, man, like just know what you bring. They should be damn lucky to have a good applicant
Yeah.
such as yourself applying. And if you come in, you don't need to be arrogant. It's not about being arrogant, but it's just really about that belief in yourself. I just think you're already so many steps ahead of the game, because a lot of police officers, myself included, I didn't have that. And like, I kind of developed that through the job. And that's the scary thing. And I wouldn't recommend that for anybody.
Sure. Yeah, I understand. So are you working with folks pre-hire then? Like you're kind of coaching
Oh
them
yeah.
through the hiring process?
Yeah. I have a lot of women who are, not yet police officers, but
What?
what's cool is like, I have them inside my membership club, which provides like a ton of training. I have hours and hours for females training, but we have this chat group on WhatsApp. And what's cool is I have a lot of officers in there as well. So these women who are trying to become police officers, I mean, what better place? What fucking better place to be than with these women from all across like the country and Canada, asking each other questions like, hey, what do you guys think about this? What should I be doing? How should I be prepping myself? What do you think about this? Da, 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 da,
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And your goal with this is what? What if you could fast forward 20 years and look at this program, what would you love to see it have morphed into and created?
Well, the program, I can tell you this. I want to go and I want to speak and I want to teach and I want to get into police academies, and I want to get into police departments, and I want to be out there spreading what I call my gospel. Okay. That's what I want to be doing. But
Yes.
the vision really for me is changing the culture. I want to see the culture change. Right now, there are 700,000 full-time police officers in the United States. Right now, 12% or 91,000 of them are females. Okay. I think that we can do better. And so, like, my goal is to really change the way that we are mentoring women and how they're being treated, and, and how these women are coming in and acting like, because listen, I'm going to just be honest. Like, I am so appalled with the shit that I see on social media. And like you were referencing my TikToks and my reels, I
Yeah.
address that shit.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. No, you do. You speak real. You speak real for sure.
yeah, I'm like, what are we doing? Like, stop sleeping around. Why are we throwing up these photos of ourselves on social media, and then we're getting a bunch of fucking attention, and every guy on your department wants to sleep with you, and you're sitting here wondering, well, why aren't they treating me like a sister? I don't know, because your tits are hanging out. Like, but that's the part, like that. But to me, that goes back to a lack of conversation, a lack of mentorship on how we need to be acting.
And I think real mentorship and real conversations, not
Real.
the fake stuff.
That's so true, huh?
Oh, for sure. Like, it's like, think about somebody somewhere said that was a good idea, so people are just following what they've seen. Whereas now you're going to say, like, that is a dumb idea. Like, that's a bad way to start a career.
So true.
Yeah, I love it. And what's been your biggest personal growth in this journey? Well, what's like been your big takeaways? You're coming full circle now. Like, you're steamrolling ahead. The injury's way in your rear view mirror. You got students, you got people lining up. What has been your biggest growth personally from this journey?
It's really about trusting your gut. It's really about trusting your inner knowing, and really getting connected to who you are. Look, I'm 31, and I know I'm not that old, but I'm going to just tell you something. I spent my whole life prior to my 30s hating myself. Okay. And I think that's a real conversation. And I think that the majority of us have found ourselves there at one time or another, or we're still there in our lives. My biggest journey has been growing a business while simultaneously learning how to love myself. And for me, it's because I've put myself out there. I am very much out there in the public eye, and I'm hoping, in a year from now, if we have a conversation, Jerrod, like, I will be, I'll have a lot more followers, and I'll be out there even more. Like, my goal is to go and be as public as possible, not in a selfish manner, but just really because I want as many women who need me and need, the support and the mentorship to have that, whereas I didn't. Right. But the thing is because when you're like that and you're the face and you're out there, man, if you fucking don't like yourself, all your haters are really going to cause you to be insecure. And I know this because when I first started, people would say things to me, and I was like ready to battle them through the computer. And then I would find myself second guessing myself. And like, I would go on these like very emotional highs and lows. And now I'm not. Like, people say the meanest things to me, on my TikToks, my reels, my posts, my videos. And I just send them a lot of love, because it's so sad that the way I see it, it's kind of like what Gary Vee says, man. I'm like, geez, you're in such a bad state that like you've got to comment on my thing, which is literally just helping others. And you've got to try to bring me down. Like, man, I feel really, really sad for you, because I'm just not miserable like that.
Yeah, I love that. And that's so true, right? Like, I was just having this conversation, and so many people don't take action for fear of what others are going to think of them. And what I always like to tell them is, quit thinking that others are thinking of you, because they're literally sitting in their house not doing shit because they think somebody else is thinking of them. Like, the person getting out there doing stuff is the one that you're after. So how did you find love for yourself? How did you find that acceptance?
It's been a long journey, my friend. I'm really spiritual. Okay. Yeah. I'm really spiritual. And in fact, I've taught spiritual coaching for a lot of years. And in fact, I created a brand called the Intuitive Sheepdog, which was bringing, spirituality to law enforcement. And that was actually pretty successful too, to be honest. And it's really about going within. I'll tell you some books just in case if anybody's listening who's like, yeah, I could really use this.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you a couple of books that have changed my life, and I'll tell you a couple of things that have really changed my life. So, I know I said meditation, but really meditate and learn how to meditate. Right. So, you can Google it, you can YouTube it. And you can really find some stuff. I have found what's been very effective for me is called EFT tapping, emotional freedom technique. And there's actually this company, it's called the Tapping Solution. They're very first responder, supportive. Nick Ortner is one of the founders. You can go YouTube him for free. They have an app. They have some of the best meditations. They're 10 minutes. And you're tapping and you're moving. So you're not just trying to sit there and clear your mind, but really, it's really about going within. So I do meditate, I journal, and I'm going to tell you, I've got my husband journaling. I have all my clients who are cops journaling, because what people have to understand, like, we have so much shit just circling around in our head. And I just want to remind you, okay, we think about 70 to 90,000 thoughts per day, right?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? We repeat 50 to 60 of those damn thoughts every single day. So if you are unaware of the thoughts that you are thinking, then you're literally thinking the exact same thoughts over and over and over again. And the thing about your thoughts is they become your beliefs, because a belief is just a thought that you think over and over again. Okay. So you can literally change your life by changing your thoughts, because when you change your thoughts, you're going to change your beliefs. And when you change your beliefs and everything you believe is changed, your whole life is going to change. And that truly is what I've done. I follow Dr. Wayne Dyer. You can YouTube him.
Yeah.
Gabby Bernstein. You can YouTube him, her. And they've really helped me. Tony Robbins with my mindset. But there's 2 books. And one's called The Self-Love Experiment. And I do not know who the author is, but you can Amazon it and get her Audible. And it was so good, because she's not like this famous, she's not super famous like Gabby Bernstein is or Tony Robbins. And she just really talks about how she overcame like her hate for herself, because she's never loved herself because of her body. And I was like, oh man, can I relate to that? Like, we can all relate to that to some extent, you know?
For sure.
And she taught me that. And then I'm going to tell you this, I read this and did this. I took the steps in this book by Teal Swan. It's called The Completion Process. And it's really about going and healing your inner child. And I will tell you, I mean, I suggest you really do some research before you do it, because if you don't have support while you're reading this book, you're going to want it, because it's a real fucking deal. But once I started really doing that kind of deep healing work, I don't know, my life changed, and I just little by little started loving myself. And I'm like, damn, like, you know,
Yeah.
I'm all right.
And now
I'm
it's
all
opened
right.
up all these other doors to where you can share that love with others and get them to live in their love.
Yeah, I think it's magnetic, right? Because I think
It is.
we can maybe you can agree with me, but you ever been around like somebody who you just don't even know why, you're just enjoying their vibe, enjoying their energy, but you're like, oh my fuck, I just want to hang out with this person.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's because they got their energy on point.
Yeah,
It's
for
like,
sure. Everything's
you know,
an energy transaction. You're either adding to somebody or taking away from it. And I always challenge our community to be aware of which one you are.
That's it.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you coming in a room and draining it, or are you bringing energy to it? You know, I 100% agree with that. And I think that's quite honestly why the universe works the way it does, and why you're on this show, Autumn.
Yeah, I know. I know we were talking about it. I think the universe really, always has our back. And I think it was a perfect meeting today. I think a couple years ago wouldn't have been as good.
For sure. No, I love it. So as we go ahead and wrap up here, you had a couple things you said that you did to really help yourself. And I really like these: focus, believe in yourself, listen to expansive books and people. So that's your Tony Robbins and your self-help network. But then I love what the last one you said is: getting away from people who doubted you and told you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
How did you separate that? How would you, for our community, because that's an easy one that right there, sometimes they're family members, they're teachers, they're coaches, their peers, their coworkers, whatever, telling you all this negative stuff. What would you tell our community on how you separate it and how they could maybe start to separate from their naysayers?
It's to each his own. It's going to be different for everybody. Okay. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's not easy. But I have a personality. My personality is really, I don't give a flying fuck what you think. And I'm going to do exactly what I want to do. What you have to understand about that is that's how I came out of the womb. Okay. I came out going to do what I was going to do at 2 years old. And it didn't matter what my mother said. And she reminds me of that daily. So for me, it's very natural. And it was a very easy thing for me to go, okay, well, you don't believe in me. Screw you. You're out of my life. You don't believe I can do this? Well, then don't talk to me. Right. Like, so for me, it wasn't that hard. I became a hermit and I just stayed in my house and I worked and I worked and worked and worked. And, I would go different places, whatever, but I worked and I just put my head down. And the people I only surrounded myself with was the people who believed in me. Eventually, the people who were doubting me, they got the hint and then they changed their tune or they just never got back into my life. I'm not somebody who needs to be surrounded by a lot of people. I only want to be surrounded by the real ones. Okay. So I never had that huge group of friends. I've got a good sized group of college friends. I'm not going to lie, but they're not people that I need to be with every day, or even like we see each other. We all get together still once or twice a year, which is really nice, but they never bothered me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
As far as like parents, I'm really lucky with my parents, but then if your parents doubt you, you don't talk to them. The biggest thing is we give our power to people because we go and ask them what the fuck their opinion is. It doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? It really just doesn't matter. I mean, if I continue to care about what everybody's opinion was on what I'm doing, I'm telling you right now, I would not be here. And I'm very proud of the business that I've grown. And I'm very proud of the fact that I am, and Jerrod, you are too, but like, I'm very proud of the fact that I am leading and coaching the very demographic of people, law enforcement, that is the toughest to sell to. Okay.
Yeah.
Because what are we? We're cops, we're bullshit detectors, and we're tight as fuck. Right.
Yeah.
And here I am. Everyone told me I was, you're not this, you're not that, you're never going to do it, this, and this. I just didn't listen. And so, don't ask for anybody's advice. Go and do things, like build your business and believe in you, and listen to only positive and inspiring things. I don't know. That's just how I do things. I'm fine being by myself.
I love it. I love it. So where can our audience follow along with you, Autumn? Where would you like us to send them?
Yeah, come and hang out with me on the socials. I'm very active on TikTok and I'm very active on Instagram. Both of them are at Officer Autumn. I have a podcast called The Officer Autumn Show. It's like over 160 episodes. More recent is focused on female cops, but the first like 160 are really, really good, and anybody can listen to them and get something out of it.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining our community today, Autumn. It's been a pleasure sharing your story with them, and I can't wait to see how you impact their lives.
Thanks for having me. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.
And remember, team, life is far too short to live any other way than on purpose. We will see you all again next week.